I looked up into the quiet of the night and asked, "Jesus, do you still believe in me?" My voice barely above a whisper, trembling with uncertainty and longing. The words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of all the doubt, the fear, the silent questions I'd carried deep within my heart. I wondered if, after everything, I was still worthy of his trust, his love. The room was dark, shadows stretching across the walls, the only sound my own breath and the faint hum of the night outside. I felt as if I had just spoken into the void, as if the universe itself held its breath in anticipation of what I might hear. My mind raced with memories. Times I had faltered, moments I had felt lost, mistakes that seemed to separate me from the grace I so desperately needed. Was I too broken? Too far gone? And yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was pivotal, that somehow this question was more than just words. It was a plea, a desperate hope for reassurance, for validation, for a sign that I hadn't been abandoned, that I was still part of something greater. I closed my eyes, feeling the weight of the silence around me, waiting for an answer that might change everything. The room remained still, the quiet stretching on, until I felt a gentle presence, calm, steady, unwavering. I sensed a look, a gaze that saw through all my doubts and fears. And then, as if in response, I felt a whisper to my spirit, soft yet profound. "Do I still believe in you?" The question echoed in my mind, not as a challenge, but as a divine assurance. It was as if he was asking me in return, "Do you know what I see when I look at you?" And in that moment, I felt a flood of emotion, hope, fear, awe, rising within me, threatening to overwhelm my heart. His words, unspoken but deeply felt, reached into the core of my soul. They carried a message I had needed so desperately, a reminder that his belief in me isn't based on my perfection, but on his unchanging love, that even in my darkest hours, when I doubted myself and questioned everything, his faith in me remained intact, that his love is not conditional, not fleeting, but everlasting. A tear slipped down my cheek as I sat in the silence, feeling the truth of his presence settle over me like a warm embrace. His question was a mirror, reflecting back my own worth and the infinite grace that sustains me. It was a moment of revelation, a divine affirmation that changed everything I thought I knew about myself and about him. And in that quiet, I realized I didn't need to fear the answer anymore, because whether I heard words or simply felt his reassurance, I knew I was loved, still believed in, still held, still cherished, and nothing in this world could ever take that away. There was a pause, a breathless silence, before I finally opened my eyes, my heart a little lighter, my spirit renewed. I knew then that no matter how dark the night, his belief in me was a light that would never fade. It was a moment I never saw coming, an evening when everything felt like it was falling apart inside me and outside in the world. The chaos around us seemed to grow louder with each passing day, news of conflict, uncertainty, and brokenness filling the airwaves. I felt helpless, overwhelmed by a sense that the ground beneath my feet was shifting, unstable and unsteady. Inside my heart, there was a storm brewing, personal sorrows, wounds I couldn't seem to heal, questions that haunted my mind late into the night. I had been carrying so much weight, fears for my family, doubts about my purpose, and a deep ache that no words could quite describe. It felt like I was caught between two worlds, one of faith and hope, the other of despair and confusion. And in the quiet of that turmoil, I couldn't escape the feeling that I was alone, even in the midst of a crowd. I found myself kneeling in prayer, desperation thick in my voice, asking a question I've never dared to voice out loud before. "Jesus, do you still believe in me?" It was a simple question, but it carried the weight of everything I was feeling. My doubts, my fears, my trembling hope that maybe, just maybe, I wasn't forgotten. I looked around at my own life, at the broken pieces I was trying to hold together, and wondered if he saw the same struggles I couldn't put into words. Was I still enough? Did he still see worth in my trembling heart? The world outside was roaring with chaos, but inside me, a silent plea was rising, an urgent cry for reassurance. I needed to know that I was not abandoned in this storm, that his love hadn't faded with the chaos surrounding us. As I sat there in the stillness, my mind racing, I felt a fragile vulnerability, like exposing a piece of my soul that I usually kept hidden behind masks of strength. I was searching for a divine answer, a whisper of hope that could steady my trembling spirit. And then, in that quiet, a profound stillness settled over me. It was as if time paused, and I could feel his presence, gentle yet unwavering. I sensed him asking me softly, "Do I still believe in you?" That question, simple yet profound, pierced through my doubts like a ray of light in the darkness. It made me realize that belief isn't about perfection or never falling. It's about his unwavering love that persists despite all my flaws. It's about his faith in me when I have none left to give. I felt a tear slip down my cheek, not from despair, but from a deep, unexpected surge of hope. In that moment, I understood that his belief in me isn't based on the circumstances I face or the mistakes I've made. It's rooted in his eternal love, steadfast, unchanging, and infinite. The chaos outside hadn't disappeared, but inside me, something had shifted. I was reminded that even in my darkest hours, I am still seen, still loved, still held in his grace. That one divine question changed everything, because it made me realize that I was not alone in my doubts. His answer, whether spoken or felt in my spirit, was a reassurance that I desperately needed. It was a reminder that his love is bigger than my fears, deeper than my uncertainties. It was a truth I had to hold on to, especially now, when the world feels so fragile and my soul feels so vulnerable. Sitting there in that quiet moment, I felt a peace I hadn't known before, an affirmation that, no matter what chaos surrounds us, his belief in me remains unshaken. And in that truth, I found the strength to keep going. I needed to find a place where I could escape the noise, the chaos that had become my daily life. It wasn't just the world's chaos, though that weighed heavily on my heart. It was also the noise inside my mind, the endless stream of worries and doubts that refused to quiet down. So, I turned off my phone, silencing the constant notifications that pulled me in every direction. I closed the door behind me, shutting out the world's demands and the distractions that kept my spirit restless. I sought silence, pure, unbroken silence, as if that was the only way to hear what my soul truly needed. I stepped into a quiet corner, a space where I could breathe without interruption. No screens, no voices, no background noise, just me and the stillness. The air felt different there, heavy somehow, as if it carried a sacred weight. It was thick with anticipation, like the silence itself was holding its breath, waiting for something profound to unfold. The minutes stretched endlessly, each second lingering longer than the last, slow and deliberate, as if time itself had paused in reverence. I sat down, my heart pounding softly in my chest, feeling the weight of those quiet moments settle over me. The only sound was the faint beating of my own heart, steady, deliberate, almost like a gentle drum signaling my presence before the divine. I closed my eyes, trying to still my racing thoughts, trying to listen beyond the silence. I felt the heaviness of the air around me, as if it was charged with something sacred, a divine presence that was quietly waiting to reveal itself. In that deep stillness, I felt the boundaries of my own mind dissolve. The distractions, the worries, the noise, all of it faded into the background. It was just me, sitting in the silence, waiting with open hands and an open heart. I didn't rush the moment. I knew this wasn't something to be hurried. Something sacred was about to happen, and I wanted to be fully present for it. The silence grew thick, almost tangible. It felt like the air itself was thickening, heavy with expectation. I could sense the divine presence in that quiet, an unspoken invitation to come closer, to listen, to feel. Every heartbeat, every breath, seemed amplified in the stillness, making me acutely aware of my own vulnerability, my dependence on something greater. I was waiting for a divine encounter that I knew, deep down, was near. There was a calmness that settled over me, slow and profound. The kind of calm that only comes after surrendering all distractions, all doubts, all fears. It was as if the universe had slowed down just enough for something sacred to unfold. Something I couldn't see with my eyes, but could feel deep in my spirit. I knew I was on the edge of something extraordinary, something that would shift everything inside me. And so, I sat in the stillness, aware of the heaviness of the air, feeling the sacred waiting in the silence. Every second felt like a lifetime, yet also like a heartbeat, constant, steady, enough. The moment was pregnant with anticipation, the kind that palpably prepares your soul for a divine revelation. I was waiting for him to speak, for his presence to reveal itself, for that sacred encounter that would change everything. And in that silence, I knew I was not alone. Something holy was about to happen, something divine, and I was ready to listen. In that suspended moment, time seemed to halt entirely. The silence was no longer silent. It transformed into a sacred space where only the divine presence could dwell. I felt it before I saw it, a warmth that radiated softly but with undeniable power, like the sun breaking through dawn, gentle yet impossible to ignore. The atmosphere around me shimmered with a luminous glow, not harsh or blinding, but a soothing light that embraced me completely. It was as if the very air was alive with peace, wrapping my trembling heart in a calm so profound I wondered if I was dreaming. In that stillness, I was acutely aware of the overwhelming presence, more tangible than anything I had ever known, yet intangible in its divine majesty. It was as if the universe had paused to listen, to witness this sacred exchange that was beyond words, beyond time. And then, I felt his words, not as a voice I could hear, but as a gentle wave that washed over my entire being. They were words of truth, spoken with authority that carried the weight of eternity, yet infused with a mercy that softened every syllable. They resonated deep within me, vibrating through my soul like a melody that had always been part of me, waiting to be heard. His words did not demand or condemn. They simply declared, with unwavering conviction, what has always been true. I still believe in you. But it was more than just the words. It was how they were felt, like a divine light that illuminated every shadow of doubt, every fear that had haunted me. It was as if his declaration reached into the very core of who I am, reminding me that my worth is not measured by my failures or weaknesses. His belief is rooted in something eternal, something that exists beyond my understanding, a love that does not falter or fade. His tone was both commanding and compassionate, a perfect harmony of truth and mercy. It was the kind of certainty that leaves no room for question, yet the kind of mercy that beckons softly, inviting me to accept it. It was a reminder that, in the grand design of eternity, I am precious, held in his unchanging love. His words carried the weight of forever, yet they also felt like a gentle touch, a reassurance that I am seen and cherished, no matter how broken I may feel. It was as if the very fabric of eternity wrapped around me, pulling me into a space where nothing else mattered but his unwavering belief. In that moment, I realized that his presence was not just around me but within me, filling every corner of my being. The heaviness I had carried, the doubts, the guilt, the fears, began to dissolve into the divine light that enveloped me. His words transcended my understanding, touching the deepest parts of my soul, awakening a hope I thought was lost. I knew, without doubt, that I was standing in the presence of something infinite, something eternal, something that would never leave or forsake me. This was the divine climax I had longed for, the moment when heaven's truth collided with my humanity and changed everything. His belief in me was not fleeting or conditional. It was as eternal as the stars, as unshakable as the mountains, as all-encompassing as love itself. And in that sacred space, I understood that I was forever marked by that divine truth. I am loved, I am believed in, I am held in His mercy. The overwhelming awareness of His presence left me silent, overwhelmed, and utterly transformed. I knew that nothing in all creation could separate me from this divine belief, His eternal, unshakable, merciful belief in me. As I sat there, overwhelmed by the divine presence and His unwavering words, I found myself trembling with a mixture of shock and awe. His declaration, "I still believe in you," was not just a comforting phrase. It was a truth that pierced through the very fabric of my soul. Tears welled up unexpectedly, streaming down my face as I struggled to grasp the profoundness of what I had just received. In that moment, I realized that His words carried a weight far beyond my personal doubts. They echoed into the heart of a nation lost in confusion, pride, and division. It struck me that this message was not just meant for me alone, but for everyone whose spirit is burdened by the chaos of our times. For a nation that has drifted away from its moral compass, enthralled by the idols of power and materialism, His words were a divine reminder of unchanging love and belief. Our society has become a reflection of fractured hearts, people divided by ideology, pride, and the relentless pursuit of self-interest. Faith, once a guiding light, now flickers in the shadows, overshadowed by the noise of politics and the idolization of influence. The moral fabric of our nation is stretched thin, torn apart by arrogance and the refusal to see beyond our own perspectives. But His words, simple yet profound, reminded me that in the midst of this spiritual chaos, the divine belief in us remains steadfast. It's a divine perspective that doesn't waver because of our failures or our divisions. It's a love rooted in eternity, unshaken by the fleeting powers of this world. As I processed this truth, I realized that His words are an invitation, a call to each of us to remember who we are underneath the chaos, to remember that, despite the pride, the divisions, and the idols we chase, we are still loved by the One who sees beyond our surface. His belief in me was a mirror reflecting the potential that still exists within every human soul. Potential for redemption, for humility, for renewal. It is a reminder that faith is not lost but sometimes hidden beneath layers of distraction and self-deception. His words are a divine whisper that calls us back to the core of what truly matters: love, humility, unity, and the recognition of our shared humanity. When I looked at the state of our nation, so divided, so distracted by the idols of power and pride, I saw the deeper need for His divine belief to be rekindled in every heart. We need to hear again that we are not beyond hope, that love still holds power over hate, and that divine grace can restore what has been broken. His words remind us that belief is not just a passive sentiment, but an active force capable of transforming our collective soul. His unwavering belief in me transformed my understanding. It's a divine declaration that I am precious, regardless of my flaws or mistakes. It's a truth that calls for us all to see ourselves and each other through His eyes, loved, valued, and capable of renewal. This is the message that should echo in the hearts of a nation weary from division and despair. We are not defined by our failures or our pride. We are defined by the divine love that believes in us still. His words are a divine challenge and a divine promise. To believe again, to humble ourselves, to seek unity rooted in love. Because when we remember that we are believed in by the Creator of everything, we find the strength to rebuild, to forgive, and to heal. His belief in us is not just a reassurance. It's a divine commission to become the better version of ourselves, both as individuals and as a nation. And in that truth, I pray we all find hope. Hope that, despite everything, belief and love can still prevail. In that quiet moment, as I listened to His words, I realized something profound. Even in the midst of judgment, there is mercy. His response was not one of condemnation, but of love, a gentle reminder that no matter how far we may have strayed, there remains a path back to hope and healing. We often think that when we fall short, When our actions have caused wounds in ourselves and others, the door to redemption closes. But his answer told me otherwise. It was an invitation, an open door, still swinging wide, calling us to return, to humble ourselves, and to seek his mercy with sincerity. The truth is, time is not always on our side, yet divine patience is. Every day we are given is an opportunity, a moment to turn away from pride and self-reliance and to fall on our knees in prayer. It's never too late to seek forgiveness, to ask for guidance, and to renew our hearts. The shepherd's voice is gentle, not one of harsh judgment, but of compassionate love. He longs for our return, for us to lay down our burdens and to stand in unity once again. This is the core of his message, that in his eyes, there is always room for mercy, always space for redemption. Our world may seem divided, fractured by pride, selfishness, and the idols of power, but beneath all that, the divine love remains unshaken. It calls us to humility, not as a sign of weakness, but as a posture of strength and openness, ready to receive grace. When we come with open hearts, seeking forgiveness and reconciliation, we begin to heal the wounds that divide us. Forgiveness is not simply a release of anger or blame. It is a spiritual rebirth, an awakening to the truth that love is stronger than any mistake, stronger than any division. It is a divine force that unites us in humility and compassion, reminding us that we are all connected under his watchful gaze. The shepherd does not judge us to condemn us, but to guide us back into the fold, back into the unity that was always meant to be. There is still time, yes, time to change, to reconcile, to restore what has been broken. It begins with humility, a surrender of our pride, and a prayer that reaches beyond words, touching the very heart of divine mercy. When we pray, when we seek his presence, we invite his spirit to work within us, transforming our hearts and renewing our purpose. This is the essence of true spiritual rebirth, recognizing that no mistake is too great, no failure too final, when love and mercy are at the center. We are called to be shepherds of one another, to extend forgiveness and understanding in a world desperately in need of compassion. Unity begins with each of us turning inward, humbling ourselves before God, and opening our hearts to divine grace. His answer, his mercy, is always present, waiting for us to accept it. We are not beyond hope. We are not forsaken. There is still time to return, to rebuild, and to walk anew in the light of his love. In that sacred space of humility and prayer, we find the strength to forgive ourselves and others. We find the hope that binds us together, hope rooted in divine mercy and the promise of renewal. So let us listen to his gentle call and respond with open hearts. Let us remember that his love is unchanging, that his mercy is eternal. And in that truth, may we find the courage to unite as one, to forgive as we have been forgiven, and to embrace the spiritual rebirth that awaits each of us when we turn back to him with humility and faith. In that quiet moment, when his words washed over me, "I still believe in you," something inside me shifted forever. It was as if the weight of my doubts, my failures, and all the times I felt unworthy suddenly dissolved into a gentle, divine reassurance. His belief in me wasn't just a comforting sentiment. It was a profound truth that awakened a new awareness deep within my soul. I realized that even in my brokenness, in my struggles and mistakes, his love and belief remain unwavering. That realization changed everything. It was as if the entire purpose I had carried before was now infused with new meaning, a purpose rooted in the unshakable foundation of divine trust. From that moment on, I began to see myself and others through eyes of compassion, not condemnation. I understood that his belief is not based on our perfection but on his eternal love, which surpasses our flaws and fears. It was an invitation to embrace my worth, not because I had earned it, but because I am loved unconditionally. And in that, I found a renewed sense of gratitude for his patience, for his mercy, for his unwavering faith in every broken piece of who I am. That encounter became a sacred turning point, a personal awakening to the depth of divine grace available to all of us. It was a reminder that no matter how dark the night, the light of his belief can pierce through the shadows, guiding us back to hope. I began to see that the journey of faith isn't about reaching some perfect destination. It's about trusting in the divine love that constantly reaches out to us, calling us home. And in that calling, I discovered a new purpose: to live with humility, to forgive myself and others, and to walk in a path of genuine love. I realized that this divine belief isn't just for me alone. It's a gift meant to awaken a collective awakening, a renewal of spirits across a nation and beyond. His love urges us to look inward, to confront our fears and pride, and to open our hearts to the truth that we are all deeply valued, no matter where we've been or what we've done. This encounter awakened a sacred intimacy within me, an awareness that I am seen, known, and loved at my very core. It's a love that invites us to wake up from the slumber of despair and to step into a new dawn of hope and purpose. I am overwhelmed with gratitude for this divine encounter, for the reminder that love is stronger than any doubt, stronger than any darkness. I feel called to carry this truth forward, to live not just for myself, but to share that divine hope with others who are lost or weary. It is an invitation to approach life with tenderness, humility, and a deep trust that we are never alone. We are held by love that believes in us, even when we forget to believe in ourselves. I invite you, in your own quiet moments, to reflect on this divine truth, on the possibility that you, too, are being watched over with unwavering love. Because in that awareness, in that gentle awakening, the soul finds its true home. And in that home, there is no fear, only the promise of eternal love and the courage to become who we are truly meant to be. May this encounter inspire you to seek that divine belief within your own heart and to walk forward with hope, humility, and a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that you are beloved, exactly as you are. In that quiet moment, when his words echoed softly within me, "I still believe in you," a profound stillness settled over my heart. It was as if the noise of my doubts, the weight of my mistakes, and the fears that had held me captive suddenly faded into the background. His words weren't just a reassurance. They were a divine promise that love, true love, does not waver in the face of our failures. Instead, it remains steadfast, unwavering, patiently waiting for us to turn back, to humbly seek forgiveness, and to accept the mercy that has always been available. In that silence, I realized that his belief in me was an invitation, an open door that calls us to step beyond our brokenness and into the fullness of his grace. It's a reminder that no matter how far we've wandered, how lost we've felt, or how much we've faltered, his love still reaches out. His belief isn't based on our perfection, but on an eternal commitment, a love that chooses to see the best in us, even when we struggle to see it ourselves. That moment transformed my understanding of faith. It's not about earning approval or proving ourselves worthy, but about trusting in a divine love that already believes in us. It's about waking up to the truth that we are cherished, not because we are perfect, but because we are deeply loved. And in that love, we find the courage to change, to forgive, and to embrace a new purpose rooted in humility and hope. This encounter awakened within me a sense of gratitude I can't fully put into words. Gratitude for his patience, his mercy, and his unwavering faith in the potential that lies dormant in each of us. It's a love that refuses to give up, a love that beckons us to return and to become the best version of ourselves. The divine belief in us is an anchor in the storm, a light guiding us back home when everything else seems uncertain. It's a gentle reminder that the journey of faith isn't a race to perfection but a walk of trust. Trust that his love is enough, that his mercy is new every morning, and that his grace is greater than any mistake. And so, I stand here, humbled by this divine revelation, feeling called to carry this truth into every corner of my life and beyond, to live with a heart open to forgiveness, to extend that same mercy to others, and to walk in the unity that his love invites us into. Because in that divine belief, we discover that we are never truly alone, never beyond hope, and never beyond the reach of love's redeeming power. In the quiet that follows, I invite you to pause with me, to let this truth settle deep within your soul, to reflect on where your heart might need divine belief today. And as you do, I encourage you, respond not out of obligation, but out of love. Subscribe if this message touched something real within you, like if it stirred hope in your heart. And share your thoughts, your own reflections, because in opening up, we continue this sacred dialogue of faith, humility, and love. Take a moment now, breathe in the silence and listen, because sometimes the most powerful revelations are found in the stillness.